Hello students, I am back again. I am Dr. Brinpreet. Today I will be talking to you about Market for Crime Part 2. Now let us first introduce the topic. The criminal milieu in India is varied and complex, much like that of any other nation. Numerous social, economic, cultural and political aspects impact the crime market in India. It will be interesting to investigate how opportunity, incentives, law enforcement, social variables and the rational choice theory altogether interact to influence criminal behavior and criminal behavior patterns in India. In India, crime is a systematic reaction to institutional, social and economic incentives rather than a random occurrence. Crime can more effectively be examined through the lens of economic theory, though in India, crime is more often seen from a moral or a legal perspective. Similar to any legal market, the idea of the market for crime in India also views the illegal or illicit activity as an exchange mechanism between the prospective buyers and sellers that are driven by supply, demand, price, risk and profit. Illegal marketplaces arise to satisfy unfulfilled wants when legitimate economic markets are unable to offer possibilities fairly, resulting in a market for crime. With its enormous population and regional disparities as well as the rapid technological advancement, India's crime market has developed into a robust and intricate system that affects the country's governance, economy and society as a whole. For the purpose of developing more successful interventions, it is essential to comprehend the composition, origins and effects of the criminal market. Now, in this context, we will discuss first the rational choice theory of crime in India. According to the rational choice theory, people analyze the costs and benefits of committing a crime, while the likelihood of getting caught and found guilty is low in India. The potential benefits are considerable, particularly in the organized crimes like internet fraud, illicit mining and drug use. Since crime is viewed as a lucrative career choice in specific sectors, rational individuals are thus more encouraged to engage in it. Several factors might influence this decision-making process in the Indian context. One of them is economic disparities. India is a country with significant economic disparities and the divide between the rich and the poor is huge. Particularly in regions with significantly high rates of unemployment or underemployment, criminality may seem to be a more viable alternative for providing for the fundamental requirements for people from the marginalized or underprivileged communities. Second factor might be the informal economy. The informal sector accounts for a sizable amount of India's GDP. This implies that a large number of people have restricted access to formal employment, contracts and financial prospects. This further fosters the growth of informal and illegal markets, including bribery, unlawful acquisition of land and property, smuggling or illegal trading in goods like the narcotics, alcohol or counterfeit goods. How corruption and lack of trust in institutions also contributes to this. When there is pervasive corruption in the police, courts and local governments, crime may seem to be a more lucrative option to the people. Criminals may be more inclined to commit crimes if they believe that the system is inefficient or that they can manipulate the police or administrative officials and just get away with the penalties very conveniently. Now, first we will discuss the role of incentives and opportunities in reference to the crime market in India. Economic factors and inadequacies in government machinery and law enforcement agencies both contribute to the likelihood of crime. In India, a number of reasons contribute to a flourishing crime market. First is the problem of poverty and unemployment. People are more prone to resort to illegal activity when poverty and unemployment rates are high, particularly among the urban and the rural youth. For example, those who are devoid of the prospects for growth and prosperity may see extortion, theft or robbery as a more feasible choice. Greater demand for black market products. A wide range of illegal items and services are usually in high demand in India. These consist of illegal arms and weapons, alcohol, tobacco, narcotics and counterfeit goods. When there are few legal alternatives or when taxes are levied at very high rates, it pushes the individuals to choose unlawful alternatives and hence the market for such goods expands. Moreover, by using India's vast coastline and weak borders, organized criminal syndicates smuggle commodities including gold, jewels, narcotics and weapons across the borders. The informal sector, there are opportunities for both legal and illegal economic activity in India's sizable and mainly unregulated informal sector. For instance, organized crime criminal networks frequently take the advantage of market hawkers or other unofficial laborers by demanding protection money unreasonably. Now further, we will discuss the structure of crime market in India, and in this first we discuss about the different types of crime markets that prevail in India. Over the years, India's criminal market structure has undergone a major transformation. In earlier times, theft, smuggling and minor extortion were all examples of localized small-scale crimes. However, with the passage of time, criminal organizations have grown many folds and have become much more professionalized. The contemporary criminal markets sometimes resemble the workings of corporations with specialized sections managing various aspects of their operations such as political lobbying, financing, logistics and even security. Highly established organizations include criminal syndicates such as the D Company, the Mumbai Underworld and more recently various cyber criminal organizations. Additionally, the terrain has changed drastically due to the advent of technology. A huge market for cybercrime such as ransomware attacks, identity theft, phishing scams and financial fraud have all emerged as a result of the growth of the internet and mobile communications. Law enforcement has been rendered much more difficult by these frequent criminal activities being carried out at the international forum while also connecting the criminals from India to the foreign networks. The most popular forms of crime that have become rampant in India include number 1, the organized crime. Various regions in India are notoriously popular for having significant levels of organized crime where criminal networks dominate a significant percentage of criminal activity. And some of these examples are urban mafia networks. The mafia-style organizations dominate unlawful activities like drug trafficking, extortion, protection rackets, illegal gambling and real estate scams in places like Delhi, Kolkata and even Mumbai. Then second crime is Naxalism. Maoist insurgency or the Maoist groups are largely involved with violent criminal activities associated with political insurgencies in rural India, especially in the states of Chhattisgarh, Odisha and Jharkhand and even Bihar. They disrupt business enterprises in rural and tribal communities, indulge in illegal mining and extort huge amounts of money. The South Asia Terrorism Portal report titled Yearly Fatalities, which was published for the year 2024, revealed more than 4,000 killings of civilians only between 2000 and 2024. Another crime form is cybercrime. The incidence of cybercrime has increased many folds as a result of the growing digital economy in India. The surge in the number of smartphone users and internet connectivity has led to an explosive growth of criminal activity in India, such as phishing, identity theft and cyber fraud are the crimes that target individual people and companies. In India, online frauds like fake lottery or employment offers have been becoming increasingly rampant. Hacking and ransomware organizations attack private businesses and government agencies in an effort to extract enormous sums of money. Another crime pertains to the drug trade and smuggling. Another significant illegal market in India is the drug trafficking. India is the key transit corridor for heroin and methamphetamines due to its close proximity to the Golden Triangle, which is the intersection of Myanmar, Thailand and Laos. Various drug cartels manage the distribution of narcotics that enter India through the unsecured border regions in the northeast. As per the report of the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime (UNODC), the size of the illegal drug market in India has reached 292 million in 2022, which means it was an increase of 20% over the previous decade. The underground economy also heavily relies on the smuggling of alcohol, spices or the synthetic drugs and cannabis, the marijuana. Human trafficking and prostitution is yet another crime. India is a major participant in the global trade for human trafficking. It is both a source as well as a destination for human trafficking, especially when it comes to the exploitation of women and children for the purposes of enslaved labor, sex trade and the illegal trade of organs. These trafficking activities are undertaken by organized criminal groups which frequently take advantage of vulnerable groups by exploiting their conditions of poverty, social disparities and ignorance. The data report of the Ministry of Home Affairs in response to a question that was put across in the Lok Sabha revealed that as many as 10,699 cases of human trafficking had been reported between the years 2018 and 2022, with the year 2022 recording the highest number of cases, which was 2,250. One more crime that is so rampant in India is illegal mining. Mafias control the enormous size of black markets that operate in the field of essential resources like sand, coal and iron ore, which although provide the requisite support to both the construction and energy sectors, only come at the cost of damaging the environment. Supply chain and participants of crime in India. This is the next component of the structure of the crime market in India. Producers and originators of crime, they are the first stage or the first component. Producers of crime are the people or organizations who first initiate the activity that culminates into crime subsequently. For example, the cultivators of cannabis or opium poppies in areas like Himachal Pradesh, Punjab or the northeastern states of India are the producers in the drug market, or the people who extract coal, sand or minerals in an unauthorized manner. They all form the basis of the supply chain in illegal mining and extraction. The second agent in this process is intermediaries. The intermediaries in India are crucial in the crime markets, connecting the producers with the criminal networks and providing the required infrastructure for illegal goods and services. They connect low-level criminals to the syndicates, document forgers and transporters, and in drug trafficking they offer logic, transportation and fictitious documentation. Then one more component is the organizers or the syndicate leaders. Organizers at the top of the supply chain manage funds, coordinate logistics, control product flow and supervise criminal operations. They oversee global networks and domestic activities, often utilizing cybercrime kingpins. Criminal dons like Dawood Ibrahim have long served as prime examples of this function in India, running global networks from outside and managing domestic activities via hierarchical command structure. Political leaders and officials are still another component of this chain. Corrupt officials and political sponsors are crucial in the criminal supply chain, fostering an atmosphere conducive to crime. They usually indulge in activities like campaign funding or hiding criminal groups. This interdependence between crime and the government is evident in the example of sand mafia in Uttar Pradesh and illegal mining activities in Goa and Karnataka. Then come the financial service providers. Financial service providers in the illegal economy, including proxy asset managers, money laundering experts, hawala operators and dishonest bankers, are an often ignored but a very significant part of the criminal activity, who facilitate the reintegration of illicit gains into the legitimate economy. And the highest point is the last stage, which is the consumers. The consumers, including the rich people who buy counterfeit luxury goods and trafficked domestic servants, are essential to the criminal economy, since they drive the demand for illegal products and services, including illegal software and credit card information in case of cybercrimes. Now, what are the socio-economic drivers of the crime market in India? First is poverty and economic disparities. Economic deprivation still continues to be one of the primary causes of criminal activity in India, and pervasive poverty too is an important driver of the crime market. Even with India's remarkable GDP development in the recent decades, a sizable portion of the populace still continues to dwell in poverty. The World Inequality Report 2022 states that while a large portion of the population struggles to meet their basic requirements, the richest 1% of Indians earn almost 22% of the country's revenue. Crime becomes a more feasible rather than a reasonable alternative when there are few or no lawful alternatives for economic growth. When weighed against the certainty of economic stagnation, the danger of engaging in illicit activities may appear justified to those who even have to struggle to exist. In these situations, petty thievery, drug sales, smuggling and illegal labor all make sense as survival tactics. This can be explained using the case of young people who are without jobs, and they sometimes feel that illicit mining is much more rewarding and remunerative than agricultural work in mineral-rich but poor areas like Jharkhand and Chhattisgarh. Second factor, which is unemployment and underemployment. Now, in this case, the scenario is made worse by unemployment, especially among young people. Millions of young people join the workforce each year, but there aren't enough employment opportunities for them, and when sufficient work opportunities are not created, India's demographic dividend, that is a youthful working age population, ironically feeds the criminal market. For criminal organizations that provide quick money, social prestige and a feeling of belongingness, this opens up an enormous pool of possible recruits. People who are unemployed or underemployed are easy prey for trafficking networks, cyber criminal organizations and organized crime syndicates. For criminal organizations that provide quick money, social prestige and a feeling of belongingness opens up an enormous pool of possible recruits. For example, the rise in cyber crimes in Tier 2 cities like Jamtara in Jharkhand reveals that the unemployed youth take greater advantage of technical deficiencies for the purpose of drawing handsome financial gains. Migration and urbanization are also somewhat responsible for the increasing crime rate. Rapid unplanned process of urbanization has led to the emergence of sizable informal economies in Indian cities where there is little or no regulation and people frequently defy the law to survive. Urban slums evolve into hotspots for drug distribution, petty crime and the illegal products trade. Migrant workers are usually the major victims of labor exploitation and trafficking. For example, one of Asia's biggest slums, that is Dharavi in Mumbai, is home to both flourishing small businesses and shadow economies that involve both illegal financial services and counterfeit items as well. Now, how does corruption and political patronage contribute to this? Corruption ensures the survival of illegal marketplaces in addition to making it easier for them to operate. In India, a sizable percentage of crime is committed under the protection or patronage of political leaders who either obtain financial incentives or acquire electoral support as a trade-off. For example, local politicians and government officials are allegedly involved in the sand mafia operations in Madhya Pradesh and Uttar Pradesh. Then there are socio-cultural factors also contributing to the problem. Significantly enough, socio-cultural variables such as community division and caste system also come into play while contributing to the growth of the crime market in a country like India. In order to establish criminal empires, organized crime agencies may even indulge in using caste and community affiliations, particularly in rural and semi-urban regions where the governance by the state authority is weak. Further, we move on to discuss public policy and crime prevention in India. A contemporary state's primary responsibility is to prevent crime through various tactics including socio-economic reforms, enforcement and punishment. In India also, public policy has been reactive, focusing on enforcing laws after crimes rather than addressing the underlying issues that render criminal activity possible. For any country, governmental actions and public policies have a significant impact on how the Indian crime market is shaped, either positively or negatively. Among the crucial actions that have been taken up in India are economic and social programs, the policies that elevate poverty like those pertaining to affordable housing, food, security, work, opportunities and education might lessen the incentives for criminal activity. Programs like the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act (MNREGA), for instance, are also designed to increase employment and lessen the despair that fuels the criminal activity. Then there are some criminal justice reforms. By strengthening the Indian Penal Code, now also known as the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita, expediting the legal system and improving police accountability, criminal activity may be deterred and crime may be made less profitable. There are anti-corruption campaigns also launched by the government. So, the initiatives to combat corruption including Digital India and e-governance primarily seek to lessen the likelihood of bribery and extortion, the two key factors that contribute to crime. Then there are awareness campaigns also. Initiatives to increase public knowledge of the adverse consequences of crime and the potential hazards associated with committing crime might discourage people from joining the criminal market. The government has also undertaken some specialized crime prevention strategies. India has shifted its focus to specialized crime prevention tactics for vulnerable populations. Amendments to the Criminal Law Act in the year 2013 have strengthened penalties for sexual offences, while laws like the Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act and one-stop centres provide immediate support services in case of crimes against women. The protection of children from sexual offences, that is the POCSO Act, and child welfare committees also aim to tailor crime prevention to specific socio-economic groups of the society. We now come to the conclusion of this entire discussion. India's criminal milieu is influenced by social, economic, cultural and political factors. Crime is a systematic reaction to institutional, social and economic incentives, with the market for crime viewing illicit activity as an exchange mechanism between buyers and sellers driven by supply, demand, price, risk and profit. The rational choice theory of crime in India suggests that while the likelihood of getting caught and found guilty is low, the potential benefits are considerably high, particularly in the organized crimes like internet frauds or illegal mining and drug use. Factors such as economic disparities, informal economy, corruption and lack of trust in institutions contribute to the likelihood of crime. Incentives and opportunities also play a role in the flourishing market for crime in India. High poverty and unemployment rates, greater demand for black market products and the unregulated informal sector provide opportunities for both legal and illicit economic activity. The advent of technology has also led to a huge market for cybercrime such as ransomware attacks, identity theft, phishing scams and financial frauds. Law enforcement has been made more difficult by these frequent criminal activities being carried out at the international forums and connecting the criminals from India to foreign networks. India's supply chain for crime includes producers, intermediaries, organizers, political leaders, financial service providers and consumers. Socio-economic drivers of the crime market in India include poverty, economic disparities, unemployment, underemployment, migration and urbanization, corruption and socio-cultural factors. Public policy in India focuses on enforcing laws after crimes rather than addressing the underlying issues that make criminal activity possible. So, with this, we have reached the end of this lecture today. Thank you so much for your patient listening.